Skyblivion is now aiming for a 2026 release, and today I want to show you why that extra time actually reflects how far the project has come, where development stands right now, and what this remake means to the community if you are hearing about it for the first time. Most of the footage shown today will be from earlier Skyblivion dev diaries and trailers, but the information I am sharing comes from the new delay announcement video from project lead Rebelzize. So with all of this in mind, let's dive in. Skyblivion is a fan-made total conversion mod being developed by the TESRenewal community. The goal is to recreate the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion inside the creation engine used by Skyrim Special Edition, and to bring the entire province of Cyrodiil forward for a new generation of players, while still feeling authentic to the 2006 original. That includes all 223 base game quests, every city, dungeon, and major location, and the full main story of the Oblivion Crisis, along with new visuals, audio, and gameplay improvements. It is a volunteer project with no monetization. When it releases, it will be completely free on PC, but you will need to own Skyrim Special Edition and Oblivion Game of the Year Deluxe Edition, because the installer pulls assets from those games rather than redistributing Bethesda's files. The project itself has been around for a long time. Work began in 2012 when modder Zalav put together an early tech demo that simply proved Oblivion's landscape could be ported into Skyrim's engine in a very rough, buggy state. By 2015, the team had reached a development build that had added new Flora assets, face gen support for character heads, and a more stable base for further work. In 2016, TESRenewal pushed recruitment on Nexus Mods and released the Return to Cyrodiil teaser, which quickly passed more than 1 million views and sparked a new wave of volunteers joining the project. Over time, Skyblivion evolved from a simple port into a full remake. The team moved to Skyrim Special Edition, rebuilt cities and landscapes by hand rather than relying on automatic conversions, and began to treat dungeons, interiors, and urban areas as opportunities to refine Oblivion's original intent. That shift is why you see things like a complete landscaping overhaul in recent updates, where regions such as Blackwood are reshaped into a more convincing swampland with flattened terrain, new ponds and rivers, and thicker, more atmospheric vegetation, all while keeping Oblivion's original geography in mind. A major milestone was what the team calls the Great Merge in 2024, where years of work on separate branches were finally integrated into a single, coherent build. That laid the groundwork for the most recent wave of public updates. Development Diary 6 from August 2025 showed the Gold Coast and the rebuilt city of Anvil, gave us a new look at Kvatch and its siege, and previewed several redesigned Oblivion Gate realms. Then, at Creation ModCon, the team released a full demonstration of the first 15 minutes of Skyblivion, including the Imperial Prison, the tutorial sewers, and the first escape into daylight, rebuilt in Skyrim's engine with updated lockpicking, animations, and lighting. Originally, Skyblivion aimed for a release sometime in 2025. That date appeared in the official release year announcement trailer and in multiple roadmap videos. Community coverage and articles echoed that plan, and for a long time the team reiterated that 2025 was the target, even while acknowledging that it would be a tight deadline for a volunteer project of this size. As 2025 went on, there were also public debates about that timeline. A former developer raised concerns about crunch, volunteer burnout, and the realism of the 2025 window. And some community members began to openly speculate that Skyblivion's release might slip into 2026. For people who pay close attention to this project, the new announcement is not really a surprise. The difference now is that the team has formally moved the target to 2026 and paired that decision with a detailed breakdown of what is finished, what is left to do, and how the remaining pieces depend on one another. Personally, I really appreciate that level of transparency. It's never easy to step back from a deadline you have put in writing and say that you need more time, especially after more than a decade of work. Rebelzize announces more than the delay. He also goes department by department to explain how far each part of Skyblivion has come. This approach is consistent with the dev diaries and roadmap videos, which focus on showing real, tangible progress rather than just cinematic montages, so it makes this delay much easier to understand and accept. The strongest news in this update is that the world of Cyrodiil itself is finished. The external world map is now 100% complete. That covers the Geralt and Valis Mountains, the forest and fields of the Heartlands, the Gold Coast, the Blackwood Swamps, and all the other regions you know and love from Oblivion. It also includes the unique gates and realms of Oblivion, which have been expanded well beyond the original game's small handful of repeating layouts. Recent updates highlight that Skyblivion now features more distinct Deadlands biomes, including the Burn, which is closer to the classic Fire and Brimstone, and the Sever, which is a stormy, acidic swamp inspired by the Elder Scrolls Online. There is also a new complex built around the cut city of Such, which is a little more than a fort in vanilla Oblivion and now appears as a ruined city space with its own bandit population and quests. To celebrate the completion of the world, the team has published an interactive satellite map on the Skyblivion website where you can pan and zoom across the finished province. It is one thing to hear that Cyrodiil is done, it is another thing to actually scroll around and see all the roads, rivers, forts, and cities laid out at once. It makes the scale of what this team has rebuilt very clear. Under the surface of that world, all quest dungeons are complete. Over the last few years, the dev diaries have shown Ayleid ruins with expanded layouts and more intricate marble corridors, bandit forts with new spaces and encounter pacing, and Oblivion gate levels that are designed to feel more varied and less repetitive. Some of that work goes beyond pure recreation and starts to resemble a lore-friendly reimagining of older content. A small number of random dungeons still need to be built, but the story's critical content and the most memorable spaces exist in their newest form. The Halloween update also showed off a lot of concrete additions to Skyblivion. We got a look at Quagmire, Vermina's fully realized dream realm, including a new quest segment built around Arkved's nightmare. There are new undead variants such as armored skeletons and skeleton heroes, ghosts and wraiths that still require silver or daedric weapons, zombies raised by necromancers, and completely new Ayleid wights guarding ancient ruins. Hackdirt has been rebuilt as a more unsettling cult village. Haunted Mine has been redesigned into a genuinely haunted silver mine with its own backstory, and the Dark Brotherhood sanctuary under Cheydinhal has been completely overhauled into a lavish, intimidating assassin hub complete with training rooms, living quarters, and a unique Dark Guardian skeleton. On top of that, the team showcased a brand new dungeon called Redwater Sloth for the Vampire Cure quest, featuring environmental puzzles, more dynamic ambush design, and a 2-stage legacy boss fight against a much more dangerous version of Hindarl. I want to remake the Garlic Foraging Fauna and Flora segment to include this new variation of the quest. Interior work is far along. Houses, shops, chapels, inns, and other interior spaces across most of Cyrodiil are already modeled, furnished, and lit. Past diaries have shown how much attention has gone into citizen clothing, city-specific decorations, and unique artifacts that help give each region their own identity. Bruma feels colder and more Nordic influenced than the Heartlands. Anvil reads more clearly as a bustling trade port, and Leyawiin has been reshaped with canals and a grander castle to reflect its position in the swampy, river-fed landscape. The main exception is still the Imperial City. Many interior cells and underground spaces connect to it, and some of its architecture set is still in progress, so a number of those interiors are waiting for those pieces to be finalized. The plan the team has shared is to finish the Imperial City assets and remaining interiors by the end of this year, then move into more focused quest finalization at the start of 2026. The major cities outside the Imperial City are considered complete. That includes Anvil, Breville, Bruma, Cheydinhal, Coral, Kvatch, Leyawiin, and Skingrad. Earlier trailers and dev diaries have shown how each of these areas have been rebuilt with a stronger sense of place, rather than a simple one-to-one port. Now that Oblivion Remastered is out, the need for Skyblivion feels even greater, because it is aiming for a fully rebuilt, fan-driven version of Cyrodiil that goes far beyond a visual touch-up and reimagines the entire game inside a more familiar engine. However, all of that beautiful level design only becomes a playable game once Navmesh is in place. Navmesh is the invisible grid that tells NPCs where they can walk, how they path around obstacles, and how they behave during fights and daily routines. As long as parts of the world were still changing, the Navmesh team could not lock their work. Now that the world is mostly frozen, they can move much faster. According to the new update, the goal is to finish Navmesh across the whole game, including testing and fixes, by the first quarter of 2026. That timeline gives the team a chance to catch things like NPCs getting stuck on rocks or running off balconies before players do. The team also plans to bring in playtesters once the core systems and interfaces are ready, and although they have not announced how that vetting process will work yet, I am really hoping that I have the chance to apply and help out. On the asset side, Skyblivion is in a very healthy place. The 3D department is described as mostly out of work now because weapons, armor, clothing, clutter, plants, and almost all architecture have already been created and implemented, with the Imperial City set standing out as the last big exception. One development diary called out clothing for the citizens of Cyrodiil as one of the shining additions, alongside unique weapons and artifacts, which means everyday NPCs are getting outfits that better match Oblivion's era, culture, and social classes instead of just wearing reused Skyrim gear. The same diary also showed off new goblin tribes and redesigned models, which gives you more creature variety in caves and wilderness encounters than the original game could manage. On top of that, the official press kit confirms that there are new creatures and monsters being added on top of Oblivion's bestiary, using lore-friendly designs pulled from other Elder Scrolls titles, so the wildlife, Daedra, and dungeon enemies feel richer and more varied across Cyrodiil. Flora and landscapes have had the same level of attention. In the Blackwood landscaping articles, the team explains how they scrapped and rebuilt the entire region to make it feel like a real border swamp, flattening the terrain, carving in dense networks of ponds and bogs, and then filling those waters with slaughterfish so that the environment itself shapes how you move through it. That work sits on top of fully remade plants and ground clutter across Cyrodiil, so forests, fields, and wetlands use more convincing combinations of trees, grasses, and smaller flora, rather than the sparse, procedurally generated look of 2006 Oblivion. All of that visual and ecological work is then paired with an expanded soundtrack. The press kit lists 10 new region-specific tracks, 3 new night themes, plus additional combat and boss music, some of it contributed by original Oblivion composers, so that each biome and encounter has its own mood to match the new clothing, creatures, and landscapes you are seeing on screen. On top of the world and the assets, Skyblivion has to recreate Oblivion's quest and systems. The project is committed to preserving the full base game, including the main quest, the guild storylines, Daedric Shrine quests, and a large amount of side content, all tuned to work in Skyrim's engine. The classic Oblivion class and attribute system returns. The team is also bringing back Oblivion-style lockpicking and NPC disposition. At the same time, they are integrating a limited set of new perks, improved creature behaviors, and better lighting and weather systems drawn from Skyrim Special Edition, so that playing Skyblivion feels like the best parts of both games rather than a straight port. After release, the team plans to move on to Oblivion's DLC including Shivering Isles, which I am especially excited for. I think it looks beautiful in the remaster, but I am eager to see how the Skyblivion team envisions it. User interface and gameplay mechanics are still in active development. To get core menus working sooner, the team shifted closer to a Skyrim-like UI for now, with the possibility of a more Oblivion-inspired reskin later if there is time. Behind that interface, a mechanics team is working on alchemy, spells, perks, and crafting so that character progression feels closer to Oblivion's more detailed role-playing style. The delay gives them more room to fine-tune those systems based on extended internal playthroughs, rather than pushing to release. One of the most exciting details in the new update is the mention of a custom cinematic for the final battle between Akatosh and Maroon's Dagon. A small team of professional animators has been working on that behind the scenes, but they still need more people with skills in rendering, set dressing, visual effects, and destruction simulation in order to finish it to the standard they want. If you are interested in volunteering, please head to skyblivion.com/volunteer to apply. The team has also been very upfront about what will not make it into the first release, and why. Underwater combat was something they had partially working at one point, with the ability to swing weapons and cast spells beneath the surface, but in practice it caused major conflicts with popular animation mods, introduced unreliable behavior in creature and player animations, and created too many bugs for a stable 1.0 build. So they have decided to disable it for now and keep standard no combat while swimming behavior at launch. Spellcrafting has a similar story. Years ago, a very talented modder built a custom spellcrafting system for Skyblivion that would let you combine effects and create new spells in a way that felt close to Oblivion. But subsequent Skyrim Special and Anniversary Edition updates broke that implementation, and the original source code for the system was never handed over to the current team, which means they cannot safely maintain or fix it. Because of that, both underwater combat and spellcrafting are now treated as long-term goals rather than launch features, with the team planning to revisit and rebuild them properly once the core game is stable and released. And while it may be disappointing if you wanted those systems on day one, stepping back from them for now gives Skyblivion the best chance to ship a solid foundation that they can safely be added on top of later. From my perspective, when you put all of this together, the delay to 2026 feels like a reasonable and healthy decision. The external world is finished, the major cities outside the Imperial City are built, the quest dungeons are done and often improved. Most of the asset work has been completed. Quest implementation, Navmesh, UI, and mechanics are all far enough along that the team can see the end, but still need careful time and testing. Those last stages always take longer than anyone wants them to, especially when you are trying to publish something that people will live in for hundreds of hours. But I think we can all agree that we would rather see a well-combed through final product than something cut short just to meet an arbitrary deadline. I also want to take a moment to say thank you directly to the Skyblivion team, because their transparency in this update, and in the dev diaries and roadmaps leading up to it, really goes above and beyond. They could have stayed quiet about the date and let speculation do the talking, but instead they put out a clear explanation, acknowledged that the 2025 target is no longer realistic, and showed exactly how they intend to use the extra time. As a longtime Skyblivion supporter, I would much rather emerge from the Imperial prison in 2026 into a polished world than spend that time fighting broken quests and unstable systems. When the team opens up external playtesting, I would love to be one of the people helping with long-form test runs, because dissecting quests, dungeons, and regions is exactly what I do here anyways, and even if that never happens and I cannot play until the public release, I will keep covering Skyblivion on this channel, sharing content for each new update, and showing how far the project has come. Whenever Skyblivion finally releases, I plan to return to Cyrodiil here with deep dives into its alchemy, its landscapes, its dungeons, and all the strange little ecological and narrative details that make Oblivion so special. Until then, I wish the team all the focus and energy they need to bring this remake across the finish line. And I will be right there with everyone else, ready to close shut the jaws of Oblivion one more time. If you've enjoyed this journey through Tamriel's heartland, please leave a like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated with our latest Elder Scrolls explorations. Your support helps us bring more of the series' hidden gems to light. I will link some of my existing Oblivion and Cyrodiil focused videos if you would like something to explore next. For now, thank you for watching. Thank you again to the Skyblivion team for their work and transparency, and I will see you back in Cyrodiil very soon. Farewell, fellow adventurers.